How do you look at the progress, Sharmila?
See, the digital success of India is now a textbook case for the world. There are multiple economies looking at the financial consolidation, and which has been implemented through our digitization. So primarily reaching out to the grassroots, enabling people to be able to get on board on payment gateways. This is India's success story of the decade. And clearly this is going to sort of lay out the way forward for the Indian economy and make it so much easier for the government to consolidate on multiple fronts when it comes to our financial future.
In fact, Sharmila, let's once again remind our viewers of the non-stop coverage on the 1st of February, 11 a.m. is when the budget will be presented by the Finance Minister. And we keep you ahead on all that is happening. Also joining us are our special panelists this evening to decode Budget 2024 for us. Let me quickly introduce Suman Chaudhary, Chief Economist, Head of Research, Acute Ratings. N.R. Bhanumurthy, who is the Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar School of Economics University, and Amarpal Chadha, who is a tax expert, joining us from ENY. All the guests with us this evening. Very good evening to you. I could firstly want to come to Suman Chaudhary. What do you say? Will it be a populist or a pragmatic budget?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear it properly. Hello.
I'm not too sure if Suman Chaudhary can hear me.
Toss it to the next person.
Can you repeat that?
The next guest.
Mr. Chaudhary, if you can hear me, my first question to you, something that is on everyone's mind this evening and from here on, will it be a populist or a pragmatic budget?
Can you hear me? Hello.
All right, we'll try and fix that line with Suman Chaudhary. I'd also like to hear from Mr. N.R. Bhanumurthy. Sir, if you can hear me, you can take that question if you like, and also to understand what are the key demands coming in from India Inc.
Yeah, I think for your first question, I don't think that it's going to be a populist budget, because it's going to be interim budget. It's only meant for 4 months. And I think, in my view, most populist would be the budget when it focuses more on the growth. And government have been focusing on the growth for the past 3-4 years. And I think right now it has put India into one of the fastest growing large economy. It's all because of the fiscal policy that has been adopted in the last 3-4 budgets. So I would expect a continuation of that focus on the growth. In fact, if you look at the last 3 years, 2 things has actually become highlights of the budgets. One, clear indication of improvement in the quality of expenditures, and the second is the transparency. In both the aspects, the budgets have actually brought in so much of clarity and also so much of growth perspective in the budgets. And I think I don't see any reason why Finance Minister would like to deviate from that good practices that she has been following for the past 3-4 years.
Right. Suman Chaudhary, if you can hear me, sir. Sharmila, would you like to take the next one?
Yeah. So, the mood, there has been no better time to introduce a budget than now, when India is doing well on so many fronts when it comes to the economy. The growth rate is sort of stable, inflation is coming down in check. What are the, big, 2 or 3 things that the finance ministry should look at when the minister reads out the interim budget this year?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Chaudhary.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello. Good evening. Hello.
Can I take this
Yes, yes,
question?
Mr. Chaudhary, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so the question
So,
to you, sir,
thank you
is that
for-
with India being poised at a very good and even, speed at this now time when it comes to the growth, numbers, and with so many things working in favor of its economy, with so many financial institutions interested in the Indian growth story right now, in its emerging story, what do you think are a couple of things that the finance minister will keep in mind or is likely to, provide for in the upcoming interim budget?
Right. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on this pre-budget subject. Essentially, interim budget is basically it's a vote on account budget, so you don't expect much of major announcement, particularly on any economic reforms. But to us, there are 3, 4 key aspects that we expect to be covered in the budget. Number one, the commitment to fiscal consolidation. I think that's a clear message. The government is expected to, have in its revised estimate a number close to 6% of GDP as a fiscal deficit for the current fiscal. And possibly they will target around 5.3%, which is a sizable reduction in FY25, and likely to target around near about 4.5%. Remember that we used to have 4.7% as fiscal deficit in FY20. And it was COVID and its aftermath, which actually has stretched the fiscal position. But the idea is that I think the government is serious and it will send a communication that it wants to revert to the earlier path of fiscal consolidation. I think that's number one. Number two is, as my guest speaker also alluded to, there is a definite focus on the quality of fiscal expenditure. We have seen it in the last 2-3 years. As a percentage, the capex budget of the government has steadily increased. They have targeted around 10 lakh crores in the current year. We expect a further increase in the next year. Although I believe that the kind of growth that we have seen in that budget in the last 2 years, it's difficult to sustain that. But clearly the focus on infrastructure creation will definitely be there. The third part, which I believe is very important, there are some segments of the economy which are continuing to see stress. We have seen that rural incomes have not grown that much. There has been the impact of El Nino phenomenon. The crop output has not been up to expectation. So we expect that there will be some additional measures to provide relief to the farmers. So through enhancement of programs like PM Kisan or Manrega, there may be relief programs for the unemployed youth, or maybe women from weaker sections of the society, or maybe even tribals. So there is definitely going to be some focus on that. The last thing is, I also expect the government to kind of communicate that they're very serious on sustainability projects, on green finance projects. So we would expect that some kind of announcements on easier green financing, maybe something on green bonds as well. Because green bonds, if you see in the domestic market, green bonds are yet to take off. So definitely, these are the 4 things that we would expect in this interim budget.
Also, I see on the screen right now, Mr. Amarpal Chadha is a tax expert, ENY. Amarpal Chadha, to understand from you, do you think there'll be something for the middle class in terms of tax rationalization, or will that be a concern?
Thanks for that. I think there is some level of audio problem that I am hearing back from your channel. But if I understand your question correctly, you're asking what are the changes that you expect from a personal tax perspective. So I'll quickly capture, we all know it's a vote on account. Still, we have large expectations. And I think every taxpayer has some level of expectations from the budget. But what likely could happen is that we could look at some benefits for the salaried class or for others to look at a transition from the current tax regime to the new tax regime. It's become mandatory from last year for employers to first keep people in the new tax regime. We may see some further incentives to move to new tax regime so that people currently, especially the salaried people who, because of HRA and other benefits, want to continue in the old regime, may get incentivized to move to a new tax regime. As hopes go, we also are looking at some level of rationalization on capital gains. So can the period of holding be standardized across different classes of assets? Is it possible to also look at the house property and remove the threshold for losses or increase it from 2 lakhs to 3 lakhs? And similarly, for example, the benefit that the people are looking, yeah.
To Mr. Bhanumurthy, sir, India, to my mind, has done very well in the face of a global economic crisis over the last financial year. We actually protected ourselves from slipping into the recession primarily because of our domestic consumption. But at this stage, what do you think India Inc. really looks forward to from this budget?
Yeah, I think, India Inc. is looking at kind of a stability in the overall macro policies. And I think India Inc. should also understand that the kind of predictability in both fiscal and monetary policies in India should be a big boost for improving sentiments in the economy. And I think this is exactly what Honorable Finance Minister asked. What is actually holding the private sector when everything is going well? Why you are not able to invest? I think they may be looking at a couple of headwinds. I think that will be challenge for the forthcoming interim budget as well. One of the biggest headwind that we are actually looking at is the whole global economic environment. Going by the trends that we have right now, it looks completely it has some kind of negative sentiments, particularly if you look at what's happening in the Red Sea, what is happening in the advanced countries' economies, and what's happening to our exports as well as the other commodity prices. So although we have done well when it comes to domestic policy, but I think the industry must be looking at a little more closely about what's happening to the external demand. So in that context, there are a little more, pessimism among the investors, and I think that will be some clarity once the U.S. Federal Reserve decides on the interest rate policy in the next round. But more than that, other headwind that I thought I would bring it to the discussion is that, yes, I think we have been doing well in the past 3-4 years, but we are actually facing some headwinds even domestically when it comes to the states. So I think the central government has a larger role. They have done extremely well in the current year, where they're trying to handhold, in terms of providing capital resources to the states, and also, transferring advanced tax collections. So I think the central government also need to further handhold the states, because states are going to play a major role if you really want to achieve what my previous speakers has pointed out, that you want to achieve a lower fiscal deficit to GDP ratio going forward. So I think the central government and the budget needs to focus on two major headwinds, and also for that India Inc. for that matter, the global environment and the issues at the state level. So I would expect that Finance Minister focus on both these aspects when she talks about medium-term fiscal path. Just to add to my previous speaker, one thing which I'm looking forward in the budget is a clarity about the overall fiscal consolidation roadmap. And I think they need to reach 4.5% by 25-26. And I think that glide path should not be deviated in my view. And if we can do that, we'll have more space for private investments. And I think that will give more confidence for the private sector also to borrow from the domestic banks.
Right. Right. Mr. Chaudhary, if you could further elaborate on this point, also adding, sir, that inflation has been a concern world across. But India has had a very balanced approach in terms of using corrective measures and how we surge rationally. How do you think India is faring in comparison to other emerging economies across the globe?
Right. So as far as inflation is concerned, we have, after COVID, we have seen a surge in inflation across the world. And we all know that supply constraints, high commodity prices, it had actually led to very high inflation in whether it is a developed economy or developing economies. Now, subsequently, of course, the imposition of very tough monetary policy, it has gradually led to lower inflation and obviously the improvement in supply chain. It has also kind of resulted in lower inflation. So what we see across the world is that inflation is gradually, it has not exactly come to the target, whether it is the Fed or the RBI, but it is kind of getting into that comfort zone of the central banks. So definitely there is a lot of achievement of the government and RBI on this. It is not only about a tighter monetary policy. It is also about the proactive measures that the government has taken, I would say, on a regular basis to control food prices. We have seen that across the last calendar year, 2023, whether, if you talk about the price of pulses, the prices of cereals, rice, wheat, previously the price of edible oil, I think these have all made a difference to kind of moderating what could have been a far worse outcome on food inflation. Food inflation, we cannot be still very complacent about it. RBI is still cautious on that matter because we still have that El Nino phenomenon. And there are dry weather conditions prevailing in certain parts. So you can still see the impact of food inflation. What is comforting at this point is the government seems to be on top of it and is ready to take measures to control food prices, which is also giving a lot of comfort to the market and to the central bank.
In fact, we are slightly short on time, and as we wind up this discussion, a quick last question with Mr. Chadha, as I see you back on our screens. Mr. Chadha, you think the government is going to make an attempt to incentivize people to take to the new tax regime? Shortly on that, sir, then we slip into a short commercial break.
No, absolutely. I think this is the right timing. The government has been trying to do that. So it will be really good if the government considers that kind of a move to simplify the taxpayer experience. And people can then also get one regime to go forward.
Right. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. And of course, we continue with our coverage on the 1st of February. Sharmila Bhaumik leading that coverage, and our entire team of our business getting our viewers all the updates ahead of Budget 2024, which is to be announced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on the 1st of February at 11 a.m. On that note, we wind up this edition. We'll be back. Do stay tuned.
QS and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla. This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla. This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
Question, powered by Kent Oro.
After a perplexing vanishing act, the Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren has reappeared in Ranchi. After 10-hour-long searches at Hemant Soren's Delhi residence, the Enforcement Directorate has recovered mega cash stash, also been able to seize his luxury car. Top sources say Soren is under scanner for multiple scams. It's the land scam after the illegal mining scam now. As Soren faces the mega enforcement directorate action, top sources hint at a change in leadership. An announcement is also expected shortly.
जीतने के लिए, सत्ता पाने के लिए किसी भी हद तक जा सकते हैं। पहले से सोच के आए थे कि इनको गुंडागर्दी मचानी है। किस्मत अच्छी थी कि कैमरे के अंदर सब कुछ पकड़ा गया।
The India alliance failing its very first big election test. The Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are crying foul. They've moved to the High Court in response. This is about the election to the Chandigarh mayor. China says rivals are trying to sabotage ties with Nepal. They've increased activity against the country. Hello and a very good evening. The show is called The Burning Question and I'm Deepthi Sachdeva. Today, we will be speaking about Chandigarh. Chandigarh, remember, is just a little union territory that is the capital of both Punjab and Haryana. But why should we be talking about Chandigarh at a point where you have Hemant Soren, who possibly could be arrested? Remember, there are dramatic images of cash stash and a lot of other things being recovered. There's also a Rahul Gandhi today who's hit out at Nitish Kumar. And he says, thoda sa pressure pada, Nitish Kumar ne U-turn le liya. Why should we be talking about Chandigarh on a day like this? Because the opposition, that is a part of the India alliance, remember themselves. They themselves built this election to the Chandigarh mayor as the first big test for the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. They said, we are winning this election, we will teach the BJP a lesson, and this will be a message for the electorate, for the BJP, come 2024. But what happened? These are images of a lot of chaos, a lot of fracas, and this hasn't been an election without a controversy. Now remember, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress got in together, in spite of the fact that a Bhagwant Singh Maan said कि सबसे छोटी कहानी यही है कि एक थी कांग्रेस. In spite of the fact that Arvind Kejriwal has been called multiple names by the Congress, in spite of the fact that the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party completely hate each other. They are enemies. In spite of the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party has grown at the expense of the Congress in Delhi and then in Punjab, in spite of the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party actually has gobbled a 12% vote share in Gujarat and ensured that the BJP wins there, in spite of the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party was called the B team of the BJP by the Congress, they got together. They decided that this is the only way that they can teach the BJP a lesson. The numbers, that is the mathematics, favored them. Everyone said we also have the chemistry. But the results today have clearly indicated that even if you have the mathematics by your side, even if you have the chemistry by your sides, unless and until you have the political acumen, you have the foresight, defeating the BJP is a far cry. So the BJP, you must have understood by now, has won that mayoral election, in spite of the fact that it had lesser number of people voting for it. Also, one vote has gone in from the Shiromani Akali Dal for the BJP. Now, all this has happened when 8 votes of the India alliance have been declared invalid. They haven't been counted. The Aam Aadmi Party says कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. The Aam Aadmi Party also says that this is just a trailer of what the BJP can go to an extent in case they are losing an election. So we'll play our reactions that have come in from the Aam Aadmi Party, from the BJP, and also on your screens are images of what the Aam Aadmi Party says is a clear video proof of tampering, alleged tampering by the presiding officer. We'll unravel the story then with a panel of guests in just a moment. But first up, the moment the Arvind Kejriwal government has also called this a rehearsal to what could happen in 2024.
बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है कि चुनाव के पहले कल ऑर्डर जारी करके चंडीगढ़ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने मीडिया की एंट्री बैन कर दी. तो इसका मतलब नीयत तो शुरू से ही खराब थी. प्लान तो षड्यंत्र तो पहले से ही बना रखा था इन लोगों ने कि गड़बड़ करनी है. इतने बड़े स्तर के ऊपर चंडीगढ़ के मेयर के चुनाव के लिए आज तक कभी भी इतनी वोट इनवैलिड नहीं डिक्लेयर की गई. 36 में से 8 वोट इनवैलिड मतलब 25% वोट. अगर इनसे 36 वोट काउंट करने में इतनी बड़ी धांधली कर रहे हैं, देश का जब बड़ा चुनाव होगा उसमें तो 90 करोड़ वोट पड़ते हैं, उसमें तो पता नहीं किस लेवल की धांधली करते हैं ये लोग. और 25% के अगर उस चुनाव में तो 5-6% की भी वोट अगर इधर उधर हो जाए तो सब. तो आज का चुनाव ये दिखाता है कि किस तरह से ये जीतने के लिए, सत्ता पाने के लिए किसी भी हद तक जा सकते हैं. बड़े चुनाव में लोग तो कह रहे हैं ईवीएम तो होगा ही होगा गड़बड़. मुझे लगता है ये कुछ भी करते होंगे. वोटर लिस्ट ये फर्जीवाड़ा करते हैं, फर्जी वोट डलवाते होंगे, ये ईवीएम करवाते होंगे, सब कुछ करते होंगे जीतने के लिए. और मैं ये सोच रहा था कि अगर भगवान की दया से उसके बावजूद भी अगर ये नहीं जीते और हार गए तो ये ट्रंप की तरह कुर्सी नहीं छोड़ेंगे. फिर ये मतलब उस दिन कुर्सी से चिपके रहेंगे, चाहे मार्शल लॉ लागू करना पड़े देश में, ये कुर्सी नहीं छोड़ने वाले. तो ये देश के लिए जो आज दिखा, पूरे देश के अंदर, पूरे देश ने देखा, सारे मीडिया ने चलाया, ये बहुत खतरनाक है. और हम सब लोगों को, जो लोग इस देश से प्यार करते हैं, हम सब लोगों को इसका पुरजोर विरोध करना है और इन सबको रोकना है.
I see it as a very positive sign and a sign for the, the policies and the guarantee of the Pradhan Mantri and a lot of people who have crossed their votes and voted for us. And it's a very good feeling that we have been able to make our mayor once again.
But it is a major setback for the India Alliance that they were earlier posing it that this turned out to be one of the biggest examples throughout the country before Lok Sabha.
That's rubbish. Really, to start thinking of a mayor election to be, look at what's happened in Bihar. First, they should introspect in that, then talk about this,
And now the councillors are alleging that there is a presiding officer has done some mischief with the votes.
They've been doing that from day one. They've been doing it for the last 2 years. Every year they do it. They create a tamasha, चीजें फेंकते हैं, ये करते हैं. Even then मैं उधर से निकल गई because किसी ने कुर्सी मारी, किसी ने टेबल मारा. पहले ही मैंने कहा था कांच का टेबल उठा लो because ये कब इनकी मुंडी घूम जाती है पता नहीं चलता है. And then they start behaving like this, which is sad. Look, I feel bad for the person who's lost, but that doesn't mean that you start misbehaving.
So that is Kiran Kher. An interesting reaction is from Arvind Kejriwal, who said Chandigarh मेयर चुनाव में दिन दहाड़े जिस तरह से बेईमानी की गई है वो बेहद चिंताजनक है चारू. He's hitting out at the BJP. He says यदि एक मेयर चुनाव में ये लोग यानी भाजपा इतना गिर सकती है तो देश के चुनाव में तो ये किसी भी हद तक जा सकते हैं. ये बेहद चिंताजनक है. We also have Rajiv Ranjan ji, who is now with the JDU. He's also joined the NDA. So Rajiv Ranjan ji, मुझे नहीं पता आपको ये तस्वीरें देख के सर कैसा लगा है. Do you agree with what the AAP and the Congress have to say? Also, Pawan Kumar Bansal ji of the Congress says the worst fears of the unabashed tampering by the BJP's councillor presiding officer in a premeditated and a planned intrigue to murder democracy have come true in Chandigarh. We'll find out from Rohan that as to why he believes that this is the handiwork of the presiding officer. We also have Akashdeep, who leans towards the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party, as expected, Akashdeep, has created an alarm. They said ये तो ट्रेलर है, असली पिक्चर तो 2024 में आएगी. But questions that will go out to the AAP and the Congress, they will continue to deflect. So to have a balance on the show, we also have Sheetal P. Singh ji, who's a senior journalist, and he's completing our panel. And I think before we get the netas on the panel, we must get in Sheetal ji for his overview of what he thinks. Sheetal ji, आपने ये तस्वीरें देखी है सर, आपने सुना है भाजपा क्या कहती है, आम आदमी पार्टी और कांग्रेस का क्या आरोप है. आपको क्या लगता है सर, क्या वाकई में किसी तरह की धांधली इन इलेक्शंस में हुई है, या कहीं ये इंटरनल साबोटाज तो नहीं है, कहीं आम आदमी पार्टी ने कोशिश की है कि भाजपा का मेयर बन जाए?
देखिए, अभी अभी हाई कोर्ट ने इस मैटर को ले लिया है अर्जेंट सुनवाई के लिए, चंडीगढ़ हाई कोर्ट ने, और कल ही इसकी सुनवाई हो रही है, अर्जेंट हियरिंग के लिए मेंशन करने पर ले लिया गया है. तो इस मामले में जो आरोप हैं उनमें प्राइमा फेसी एक सीरियसनेस है. करीब 40% वोट जो है उनको इनवैलिड किया है एक पक्ष के वोटों को. इससे ये भी साबित होता है कि जो बीजेपी और उसके वोट मिले हैं मेयर बनने पर, वो उतने ही वोट हैं जितने उनके हैं. मैं अभी मिसेस खेर को सुन रहा था, लेकिन उनकी बात में सच्चाई नहीं है. उनको 16 वोट ही मिले हैं और 16 ही उनके हैं अकाली दल का वोट मिला के और उनका अपना वोट मिला के. तो उन्हें कोई नहीं मिला है. और दूसरी ओर 20 वोट थे, 20 में से 8 इनवैलिड कर दिए गए और 12 को वैलिड किया गया. तो ऐसा तो चुनाव देखा नहीं गया है. ये मतलब अविश्वसनीय किस्म का है. कोर्ट देखेगी खैर, इसलिए उसमें हम कोई कमेंट नहीं करते. हम इस पे आते हैं कि ये जो सज्जन जिन्होंने प्रिसाइड किया इस इलेक्शन को, वो अनिल मसीह साहब जो है वो बीजेपी के जो अल्पसंख्यक सेल है उसके पदाधिकारी रहे हैं. ये सज्जन जब पहला 18 तारीख को ये चुनाव होना था तो वो कह रहे थे कि उनकी रीढ़ में दर्द है और बीमार हो गए थे. ये चुनाव इसलिए हुआ कि मैटर हाई कोर्ट गया और हाई कोर्ट में दूसरी हियरिंग पे डेट डाल के कि 30 को आपको कराना ही पड़ेगा, तो इन्होंने ये इलेक्शन कराया. अब करने के बाद ये जो किया है इन्होंने, मुझे लगता है कि ये लीगल स्क्रूटनी डिमांड करता है. और लीगल स्क्रूटनी में ये बात जो एलिगेशंस हैं, जो प्राइमा फेसी नजर आ रहा है कि बिल्कुल सीरियस एलिगेशंस हैं, उनका क्या कोर्ट डिसाइड करती है उसका हम लोगों को इंतजार करना पड़ेगा. हाँ. जो कुछ हुआ ये डेमोक्रेसी के लिए ऐसी चीजें ठीक नहीं है. इसके पहले हम देख चुके हैं कि अभी जो हमारा संसद का सत्र था,
Charu, that these are very serious allegations. You know, the charges are very serious, Charu. Did you create a situation to ensure that the BJP gets its own mayor? I mean, the opposition is alleging that you're getting very desperate, Charu. Why?
Deepti, good evening. Okay, let's start from the very beginning. सबसे पहले तो राघव चड्डा calls this देश का इलेक्शन. He says now this is the semi-final, देश का इलेक्शन है. पूरा का पूरा इंडिया अलायंस इसमें साथ में आया. It's kind of like a dress rehearsal of sorts. Look at the result there. अच्छा, यहाँ पर एक जगह के मेयर के इलेक्शंस के लिए आप इतना हल्ला मचा रहे हैं and you are surprised you're losing, but it does not bother you that you yourself don't want to contest the upcoming elections with Congress in one state, in your very own state, Punjab and Delhi. You yourself are not concerned that Congress and Samajwadi Party are not really seeing eye to eye in the state of Uttar Pradesh. You yourself have nothing to say about why TMC also does not want to contest and be a part of the India alliance. So let's get one thing very clear and understand it.
Charu, all these are valid arguments, Charu, but today let's put our focus on what's happening in Chandigarh. I mean, when you look at that video, do you believe, Charu, that there is possibly some merit in the allegations the opposition is raising? They are also saying the media wasn't allowed inside. Media was barred from being a part of the entire coverage. Is that true?
So now, Deepti, I want to break your question into two parts. Of course, we'll talk about what happened in Chandigarh, but let's also talk about the statement given by Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal shortly afterwards. He's talking about EVM. He's talking about tampering, hacking. The same party which does not want to turn up for the EVM hackathon that the Election Commission had put together. वो सब आपको नहीं करना है. तो ये propaganda फैलाना, झूठ फैलाना, अपनी हार को पहले बढ़ा चढ़ा के जीत बताना and then when you actually fall flat, you say all this. See, the court is going to be fair. We have utmost faith and they should have faith too. Now, if you're confident about going to the High Court, then wait for the results from the High Court. But ballot ke andar, if something is invalid, there is a reason for it, right? Now, you and me, sitting in a different city, do not know why exactly a certain vote is counted as invalid, but these are procedures which the Election Commission is extremely strict about. Kindly do not trivialize your losses and the victory
so
of
Charu
another
says
political
wait for a
party,
probe. Akashdeep, but there are uncomfortable questions that you and Rohan will also have to answer. Then I'll get in Rajiv Ranjanji also. Akashdeep, tell me that did the AAP and the Congress not know beforehand that the presiding officer was a BJP man? Why did you not complain about this? Why did you not create a hue and cry when you realized that the media is not being allowed to go inside for coverage? And why were you silent when your agents were turned away from counting?
Ji, today it is an illegal and immoral and anti-national activity that was conducted at the heart of Chandigarh, wherein during the mayoral elections, first Bharatiya Janata Party said that on 18th January, mayoral elections won't be conducted because the presiding officer is not well. After the High Court hearing judgment, they had to conduct it on 30th. And then today we saw how the mayor, you can see on the screens, I want all people of this country to see on the screens the face of Anil Masih, Bharatiya Janata Party. His Twitter handle is @Anil Masih, Bharatiya Janata Party.
No, but how
BJP.
are you sure, Akashdeep?
No,
this is a question that I will also ask Rohan. Then how are you sure? How are you sure that people from the Aam Aadmi Party or the Congress itself did not ensure that the votes become invalid? The Aam Aadmi Party has no love lost for the Congress.
Now, Dipti ji, you have asked me a question. Let me answer for 30 seconds.
Congress, na? You also say that you will be fighting the Punjab elections alone.
I'll tell you how
could this be an internal sabotage?
In any mayoral elections, एक minute, sir. In many mayoral elections, what happens is that whenever there is a voting
10
done,
seconds, Akash,
after that it is shown. No, it is shown. Let me complete for 30 seconds. I'll show how BJP did it. It was the presiding officer. It was the presiding officer who took the votes and double-ticked it. You can see it on the video. The video is on Twitter. It is viral.
How does he know what he's present there?
The examiner of the examination.
No, I'm sorry. You can't do this. If you've gone to court, then how can you
This is an allegation. No, Akashdeep. This is an allegation right now. This is an allegation. This is pending a probe. But if you remember, I think this is during one of the elections in Rajasthan where everything changed with the color of the ink of a pen officer. The decision of the presiding officer is despite what the court had said. Rohan, quickly before I get to Rajiv Ranjanji. Rohan, are you sure there has not been an internal sabotage?
I don't like speaking over each other. Let other people speak. Give me 1 minute. I just want to say something. So what if you people are working
together to defeat Narendra Modi? But the problem is, Rohan, that you don't trust the AAP and the AAP does not trust the Congress.
That cannot be the question, Dipti. I saw when you introduced the show today, you spoke about foresight and acumen.
Rohan,
I
will come back. You let Rohan please finish his point.
So, Dipti, you spoke about acumen and foresight, right? I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we used to see these movies where there was no TV, like we have CCTV cameras, we have 24/7 channels, now covering what goes on in an election, what goes on. Today, what we are watching on your screen, what the senior journalist sir spoke about, it is exactly what used to be the storylines of the 80s and the 90s movies, where people in power used to rig elections, and today we saw that. What has happened? There was 36 councillors. They all voted. The AAP and the Congress, which were in an alliance, they got 20 votes. And what the presiding officer, who has an instruction from the top, maybe he's facing some kind of, they have some kind of data on him. They are blackmailing him or whatever. This matters in court right now. He can't state invalid. He can't state votes. And you're telling me that it's the fault of the Congress and the AAP for having an alliance.
Rohan, you can't say all this. See, I'll tell you why you can't say all this. You understand that
wait. Charu, give me a moment. Give me a moment. I will get in Rajiv Ranjanji before all of you also come in for the second time. Rajiv Ranjanji, sir, you're a very seasoned politician. You've been with the JDU. You've recently made the switch, sir, to the NDA. अब आप मुझे ये बताइए, जो तस्वीरें आज चंडीगढ़ से आ रही हैं, सर, है तो एक छोटा सा मेयर का इलेक्शन. इंडिया अलायंस ने कहा कि कांग्रेस और आप एक साथ आएगी तो नंबर वाइज ये भाजपा को डिफीट कर पाएंगे. बट आज एकदम उल्टा हो गया, सर. और जब ये तस्वीरें देखी जाती हैं तो लगता है कि शायद कुछ गड़बड़ हो सकता है. क्या आपको लगता है कि जो ऑपोजिशन इस बार सवाल उठा रहा है उसकी अच्छे से जांच होनी चाहिए?
अब देखिए, वो कोर्ट में तो जा चुके हैं और मुझे ऐसा लगता है जो विजुअल्स हैं उनसे ये नहीं पता चलता है कि किस तरह की गड़बड़ी का आरोप वो लगा रहे हैं.
One day before, sir, you would have said the opposite.
लेकिन मैं एक बात जरूर कह बीच ये यूनियन टेरिटरी जरूर है, लेकिन पंजाब को लेकर के जो आप पार्टी और कांग्रेस के बीच संबंध है और वहां आपके मुख्यमंत्री के जो बयान
I can't hear anything.
Okay, Rajiv ji, I'm facing some issue right now with your mic. We'll just fix that. But Charu, why don't you respond to, I think, whatever points have been raised by both, and also Sheetal ji, Charu. The point is that the BJP has a lot of experience.
So first, let's begin by understanding.
एक अकेला मोदी सब पर भारी भी आप बोलते हैं, फिर भी नीतीश कुमार को अपने साथ भी ले लेते हैं. And you ensure that you teach the AAP and the Congress a lesson in Chandigarh, Charu. Is this true?
Deepti, now whatever theories they want to float, let's put it on one side. Yes, Modi ji is the most popular leader, not just in the country, in the world today, but we have always been a party which is extremely respectful of all our alliances. We have always been like that. We have never left any alliance. But coming back to Chandigarh right now, ballot ka election tha. Now, people sitting here on your show today, Deepti, are claiming to know exactly what went on in that room. Kya CCTV was zooming into every ballot paper? Zooming in and showing why it has been called invalid? You have involved the courts, but you need to also understand that there is a reason why paper ballots are not all successful. अब आप बीच में क्यों बोल रहे हैं? नहीं, अब आप बीच में क्यों बोल रहे हैं? मैं अपनी बात खत्म कर लूँ, उसके बाद आप बोलिएगा, क्योंकि फिर ना आप बोल पाएंगे ना मैं बोल पाऊंगी. अपने समय का इंतजार कीजिए, मेरी बात पूरी होगी.
What is the problem, Akashdeep? What is your allegation? Are you saying it's a presiding officer who, at the behest of the BJP, has ensured that these votes have gone invalid?
I can derail this entire conversation.
It was on CCTV camera.
No, but Akashdeep, learn some manners, please. I did not speak over you. Now I will request you to kindly wait for your turn to speak, because we're going to waste minutes like this.
Okay.
I will say what I want to say.
Okay, I also want to figure out if we can go to Rajiv Ranjan ji. He's been waiting. If his line has been fixed, we'll also get him into this conversation. Akashdeep,
but Deepti,
Akashdeep, just give 10 seconds to Charu. She'll complete her point and you can counter her.
And this is very important.
Okay,
this
both of you.
Congress.
Charu, 10 seconds, please finish your point.
Doing together. How is it a Desh ka election? And if it is, have they admitted already to losing the Desh ka election? And if this was a dress rehearsal, are they admitting that they are going to fall flat on their faces in 24 elections? No, because you were claiming otherwise. Not very long ago, you were so confident claiming the Desh ka election and India line
you need to be better prepared when you're dealing with the BJP. Let me get in Rajiv Ranjan ji. Charu. Akashdeep, please. He hasn't been able to put out his point. I hope we can hear him better this time around, Akashdeep. Please. राजीव रंजन जी सर, देखिए ये तस्वीरें सब सवाल तो उठाती हैं. आपको लगता है कि इन तस्वीरों से जो एलिगेशन ऑपोजिशन रेज कर रहा है सर, उसमें कोई मेरिट है?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं लगता है. विजुअल से चीजें स्पष्ट नहीं हो पा रही हैं. इनके आरोपों की पुष्टि विजुअल से नहीं हो रही है. अब इन्होंने अदालत का दरवाजा खटखटाया है तो निसंदेह इन्हें अधिकार है अगर इस फैसले से संतुष्ट नहीं है. लेकिन मैं इसकी पृष्ठभूमि देखता हूं. जो आप पार्टी और कांग्रेस के बीच सीट शेयरिंग को लेकर वहां कई कठिनाइयां हैं. जिस तरह से वहां भगवंत सिंह मान ने कहा कि यहाँ कांग्रेस के लिए कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है, हम 13 सीटों पर लड़ेंगे. कहीं ना कहीं उसकी परछाई इस चुनाव पर पड़ती दिखती है. और जो मेयरल कैंडिडेट हैं उनके डिफीट को इंश्योर करने के लिए हो सकता है कि दूसरे अलायंस के दूसरे कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट के कॉरपोरेटर्स ने वहां डेलिबरेटली अपने वोट्स इनवैलिड कराए हों। अब ये जांच से चीजें स्पष्ट होंगी। इसीलिए ये चुनाव तो कोई भी ज्यादा या कम महत्वपूर्ण नहीं होता है। चंडीगढ़ एक काफी ऑर्गेनाइज सिटी है और इसके मेयर के इलेक्शन को
राजीव रंजन जी, आप सीधा सीधा ये आरोप लगा रहे हैं कि ये अंदर ही की कोई गेम है, या तो कांग्रेस ने आपके खिलाफ खेला किया है या आपने कांग्रेस के खिलाफ खेला किया है। राजीव रंजन जी, बिफोर आई गिव द लास्ट वर्ड टू शीतल जी, क्या आपको लगता है कि जब तक ये भारत जोड़ो न्याय यात्रा दिल्ली तक पहुंचेगी, हो सकता है अरविंद केजरीवाल भी इंडिया अलायंस से बाहर निकल जाएंगे जिस तरह नीतीश कुमार निकल चुके हैं?
देखिए, सबसे पहले मैं आपके चैनल के जरिए एक बात जरूर कहना चाहूंगा। नीतीश कुमार जी पर किसी तरह के दबाव का असर नहीं हो सकता है। न उनके 50 वर्षों के पूरे सार्वजनिक जीवन में भ्रष्टाचार का कोई आरोप लगा, न उन पर परिवार, उत्तराधिकार, विरासत, ऐसे सवालों को लेकर नीतीश कुमार जी को कभी भी आप घेर नहीं सकते हैं। इसीलिए उन्होंने जब इंडिया गठबंधन की बुनियाद डाली, देखिए मुझे लगता है थोड़ा शिष्टाचार तो रखिए। मैं आप लोगों की बात तो नहीं, आपकी बात तो सुन रहा था, तो आप सुन लीजिए पहले। नहीं, इस तरह से
वो ये जानते हैं कि आप नीतीश कुमार को लेकर सवाल उठाएंगे। उनको 10 सेकंड दीजिए। रोहन एंड आकाशदीप, गिव हिम 10 seconds, he'll finish his point. राजीव रंजन जी,
मैं अपनी बात को कंक्लूड करने के पहले एक बात कहना चाहता हूं। उन्होंने अलायंस की बुनियाद डाली
जी।
अलायंस एक मुश्किल, इसकी कल्पना भी नहीं की जा सकती थी। कांग्रेस से वैचारिक दूरियां क्षेत्रीय पार्टियों की बहुत ज्यादा थी। एक असंभव लक्ष्य को उन्होंने साधा, गठबंधन को एक आकार दिया, लेकिन कांग्रेस इस गठबंधन को लेकर गंभीर नहीं थी। कांग्रेस ने लगातार 5 राज्यों के चुनाव के समय से ही गठबंधन को लेकर कोई अपनी दिलचस्पी जाहिर नहीं की। सीट शेयरिंग, कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम, कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी, इन सवालों पर नीतीश कुमार जी ने लगातार पिछले 6 महीने में कई बार अपनी बातें कही हैं।
ठीक है, लेकिन राजीव रंजन जी देखिए,
इस गठबंधन को लेकर मैं एक बात कहूंगा,
नीतीश कुमार को लेकर उन्होंने कितने स्विच किए सर, उठते रहेंगे। आपको कांग्रेस से दिक्कत थी, आप इंडिया अलायंस के साथ निकल जाते हैं, लेकिन सवाल ये उठ रहा है कि आप इंडिया अलायंस को भी छोड़ के जाते हैं, साथ ही में बिहार की सरकार में भी तख्ता पलट कर देते हैं। नीतीश कुमार मुख्यमंत्री बने रहते हैं। तो शीतल जी, I'll give you the last word here. What is the big picture sir? बड़ी तस्वीर क्या है? नीतीश कुमार निकल चुके हैं। आज अभिषेक बैनर्जी ने हालांकि ये कहा है कि टीएमसी इंडिया अलायंस में बना रहेगा, लेकिन जिस तरह ये यात्रा आगे बढ़ रही है, चाहे हेमंत सोरेन का सवाल हो, अरविंद केजरीवाल का सवाल हो, आपको लगता है कि दिक्कतें और आएंगी? सिर्फ लास्ट के 30 सेकंड है सर।
देखिए, 28 पार्टियां वहां हैं, दिक्कतें बिल्कुल हो सकती हैं, लेकिन जो नीतीश कुमार जी का एक्ट है वो डिफरेंट है सबसे। आज लगभग सभी लोगों ने चंडीगढ़ के मामले पे आम आदमी पार्टी और कांग्रेस के अलायंस की ओर से बात की है, जो अलायंस के बाहर के लोग हैं, चाहे तृणमूल कांग्रेस हो, चाहे शिवसेना की ओर से बात आई है, और दूसरे लोगों ने भी कहा है। तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि जो नीतीश कुमार जी ने किया ऐसा कोई दूसरा अभी तुरंत करने जा रहा है, ऐसा कोई संकेत नहीं है, और किसी का ऐसा रिकॉर्ड भी नहीं है। जो जैसा भी है नीतीश जी वैसे तो सम्मानीय है, लेकिन ये रिकॉर्ड उनका बहुत ही
सर रुकिए
नॉट राइट चारू। तो ममता बनर्जी हैज नेवर बीन एन अलाय विद कांग्रेस।
एक समय पर आप कहते थे चारू, भाजपा बार-बार कहती थी उनके लिए दरवाजा बंद है, तो पलटू कुमार नीतीश कुमार है तो भाजपा पर भी सवाल उठेंगे। लेकिन आई थिंक व्हाट शीतल जी कह रहे हैं वो इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आगे देखेंगे क्या होता है। राह आसान नहीं होने वाली। दिस इज अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट एंड अ चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशन फॉर द इंडिया अलायंस। We'll track that story and all developments here as always on Republic. Charu and all gentlemen, thank you so much. Heading into a break.
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla. This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
Trending burning question, powered by Reva University, Century Laminates, AMNS, Acco Insurance, and Hyundai Summit.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In this section of Trending Burning Question, we are going to focus on the big event 2 days from now, the 2024 budget. And ahead of the mega elections, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to unveil her sixth, of course, an interim budget on February 1 at 11 a.m., setting the stage for the financial plan for the government until the new one takes over after general elections. The comprehensive budget for the fiscal 2024-25 will, of course, be presented in July, regardless of whether the incoming government is new or re-elected one. This also marks the conclusive budget of the second term of the Modi government. The officials involved in the budget formulation are currently in a lock-in period, as is the tradition, and strict confidentiality measures for the final document are being maintained. Here's a comprehensive report on what was presented in Budget 2019 and what you can possibly expect in 2024-1. Watch this report.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to present her sixth budget. While this will be an interim budget, a full-fledged one will be presented after the Lok Sabha elections. The last interim budget was presented in 2019 by the then Finance Minister Piyush Goyal.
Madam Speaker, I rise to present the interim budget for the year 2019-2020.
2019 interim budget proposed substantial income tax relief for the middle class by increasing the exemption limit from 2.5 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees. The last interim budget also introduced the Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme with an aim to provide direct income support to farmers, which was later also launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. standard deduction for salaried employees was increased from 40,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees, providing additional tax relief to the middle class. Gratuity limit was also doubled from 10 lakh rupees to 20 lakh rupees. The Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Man Dhan scheme was introduced, offering a pension of 3,000 rupees per month for workers after the age of 60 in the unorganized sector. In a bid to provide sustained and focused attention towards development of fisheries, the government also decided to create a separate department. With merely hours to go for the budget presentation and keeping the last interim budget in mind, here's what to expect. In the post-pandemic era, the government has been steadily reducing the fiscal deficit to control debt. The target of 5.9% for the current fiscal year is likely to be met and further lowered to 5.3%. Significant progress in reducing the budget deficit is attributed to increased tax collection. With economic growth above 7%, positioning India as the fastest growing major economy, big focus will be on infrastructure spending. Experts say the government is likely to focus on increased financial support for farmers in the budget. In a bid to consolidate women voters, additional support measures for women is also expected to be a factor.
We also have an expectation that this will be a foundation of what budget there will be coming after the election, because we are quite confident that the government is there and the same government will be repeated. And we have seen several innovative and nice things happening in this government, and we wish to continue with the same.
The budget is likely to set the tone for the mega Lok Sabha elections, and all eyes are now on the big interim budget. Bureau Report for Republic Business.
Breaking news development, the Finance Ministry has said that India could become the world's third largest economy by 2027 with a GDP of $5 trillion. Even earlier, perhaps, projections come ahead of the interim budget due to be released day after tomorrow. In a report released on Monday, the Finance Ministry has said that economy is poised to grow at or above 7% in the fiscal 2024. India's fiscal year starts from April 1 and ends on March 31st. If it meets this year's target, it will be the third straight year of 7% GDP growth for India. For more, let's go to Rajat, my colleague from the business desk, with more details. Rajat, over to you. What more can you share about this Finance Ministry estimate?
So, Abhishek, the Finance Ministry's monthly economic review report that came yesterday talked about the India's growth forecast as far as FY24 is concerned and as far as FY25 is concerned. For FY24, the report threw light that India is going to grow above 7%, which was more than estimated, as RBI pegged India's growth rate in FY24 at 7%. And for FY25, they have said, and that's very important, that India is going to grow closer to 7% for FY25 as well. Also, we need to look into the other aspects of the report, which says under the reasonable assumptions, India is going to become third largest economy by 2027 and 7 trillion economy by 2030. So we also need to understand that Prime Minister Modi has also talked about that India becoming a developed economy by 2047. So this 27 and 2030 are the key milestones and the destinations in India's journey towards being one of the fastest growing, one of the developed economies by 2047. As far as Chief Economic Advisor Anant Nageshwaran is concerned, he also said yesterday that India's growth story is going to be riding on the back of a private, like the domestic demand, robust domestic demand, some structural reforms that the government has taken in the last 10 years, ranging from the insolvency bankruptcy code, recapitalization of banks, and also cleaning the balance sheet of the banks. So there are structural reforms that has been taken by the government, and that is why we are expecting that India to become the fastest growing economy going forward in the fiscal 24 and 25 as well.
All right. Also, in fact, Rajat, we are getting these reports that the IMF, International Monetary Fund, has revised India's forecast upwards amid better than expected resilience in the domestic demand. IMF, in fact, has raised the growth forecast for India from 6.3 to 6.7% for the next fiscal. And this year, of course, is expected at 6.5%, Rajat, which essentially means, as KR Kumar Mangalam Birla said yesterday, it's looking like wow. Indian economy seems to be living through a Goldilocks moment and IMF endorsing it, Rajat.
Yes, Abhishek, you are rightly on point. And Kumar Mangalam Birla also said that it's the wow moment for the economy. And in fact, it's being reflected in the numbers that has just come in from the IMF's World Economic Update of hour ago, in which the IMF has raised the growth forecast for Indian economy from 6.3% to 6.7% for FY24. And for FY25 and FY26, they have forecasted that India is going to grow at 6.5%. So even if we grow at 6.5% for the next 2 fiscal year, we are going to be in a comfortable position to be the fastest growing economies in the world. So IMF has also said that this recovery and this growth is also on the back of the soft landing of the global economy in 2025. As inflation is easing out in the Indian economy, our fiscal, even our macros are looking good. So even IMF has highlighted in its report that India is going to have a robust growth in FY24, that is 6.7%, on the back of a robust demand from the domestic demand and private consumption and the structural reforms that has happened in the last 4 years. So, well, this is one of the good news that we are hearing, that the growth forecast just 2 days ahead of the budget, Abhishek.
Absolutely. A great analysis there. And as we look forward to Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's 6th budget, albeit an interim one, Rajat, thank you so much. Let's also look at the expectations that have been building up. Some of the leaders of the industry and the corporate world expressing their views on what to expect from the 6th budget of Nirmala Sitharaman, of course, the 10th year of, or last one of the Modi government. Listen in.
Income tax slab should be expanded. 0 to 5 lakh no tax, 5 to 10 lakhs, 10%, 10 to 15, 20, above 15, 30 lakhs with surcharge. And that should be given as an option to people. Because the government has got a 5 slab or 6 slab which is complex, which many people are not doing.
I would like to see in the budget is some more measures to support MSMEs, such as mandatory registration in trades, as well as means to provide collateral-free credit, which is very important for their growth.
More conducive environment for the women entrepreneurs in the country. Of course, there are measures that is being taken for women entrepreneurs. Simpler steps to reach out to the women who really need this kind of encouragement to become entrepreneurs is what is expected.
Very important ingredient is a healthy India. And for a healthy India, we need a certain level of healthcare spend. And we also need to make sure that health insurance, which is the access to healthcare, penetration increases.
Incentivize private sector and tell them that if you put hospital in tier 3 town, 100 bedded, and you call them Ayushman hospital, then government should be able to provide them cheaper electricity, number 1, cheaper capital, and number 3, provision of single window clearances. If you can provide these 3 measures, private sector will be ready to invest.
EV सेक्टर में मेजॉरिटी बैटरी का कंट्रीब्यूशन आता है व्हीकल कॉस्ट में, जो 40% तक जाता है. उसके ऊपर 18% GST है. अगर वो 18% से 5% पे आ जाता है तो एक हमें कॉस्टिंग कम करने में एक राहत मिल जाएगी, क्योंकि हमारा जो आज EV है 5% पे है, बिकता है, बट ये 18% रहने की वजह से इन्वर्टेड टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर में चला जाता है, तो हमें एक GST का एक रिफंड का प्रोसीजर बढ़ जाता है.
Hello and welcome to a special segment on India's budget history. Let's take a look into some fascinating records that mark the evolution of India's financial planning. In a historic moment on April 7, 1860, the inaugural budget of India was presented by Scottish economist James Wilson, representing the East India Company. This budget marked the introduction of income tax, a significant revenue source for the government to this day. Fast forward to post-independence India, and on November 26, 1947, R.K. Shanmugam Chetty, the finance minister at the time, presented the nation's first budget. A linguistic shift took place in 1955. The Congress government decided to print budget documents in both Hindi and English, making them accessible to a wider audience. Delving into political legacies, Morarji Desai, the former Prime Minister, holds the record for presenting the most budget proposals in India's history. During his tenure as Finance Minister from 1962 to 1969, he presented a record of 10 budgets, setting a benchmark for subsequent leaders. The shortest budget speech in Indian history was presented by Hirubhai Mulji Patel in 1977 during the Morarji Desai government. His concise speech consisted of just 800 words. Over the years, the union budget presentation has seen some changes in timing and language. Until 1999, the budget was presented at 5 p.m. on the last working day of February. Yashwant Sinha altered this tradition, moving the timing to 11 a.m. In terms of word count, the record for the lengthiest budget speech goes to Manmohan Singh, who in 1991 used a staggering 18,604 words during the annual financial presentation. Cut to 2019, Nirmala Sitharaman broke away from a century-old Bahi Khata tradition during her maiden budget presentation. Instead, she opted for a red silk bag adorned with the national emblem to carry the budget documents. This move has been widely praised as a significant step in shedding the colonial-era tradition. Interestingly, Nirmala Sitharaman became the second woman to present the budget, doing so in 2019 for the fiscal year 1970-71. These milestones showcase the rich and dynamic history of India's budgetary process. Within just around a decade of joining politics, Nirmala Sitharaman etched her name in the records by delivering the longest budget speech in Indian history. On February 1st in 2020, she spoke for an impressive 2 hours and 42 minutes during the presentation of the union budget for 2020-21. Lastly, amid the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, the budget for 2021-22 marked a historical digital transformation, becoming the first entirely digital budget presentation in independent India.
Viewers, here's a short glossary of words which will help you understand the budget and the economy better. Fiscal deficit. It's a difference between a government's total expenditures and the revenue it generates, excluding money from borrowings. Fiscal policy is the next one. Fiscal policy deals with revenue and expenditure policy of the government and how it affects a common man's life. If the government changes the income tax rate, then it impacts the disposable income in people's hands and influences their buying power. This subsequently affects businesses and the tax income of the government. Now, monetary policy is the flow of money in an economy which directly impacts its growth. The government monitors the liquidity in the economy to ensure optimum growth via the Reserve Bank of India. The next term, finance bill. A finance bill pertains to the country's finances and could include changes in taxes, revenues, government borrowings. Now, when the union budget is announced, several changes are proposed to the government's revenue and expenditure. Immediately after the presentation of the union budget, all financial changes recommended are presented before both the houses of the parliament in the form of a finance bill. The next one is vote on account. Now, after the announcement of the union budget, the government starts the parliamentary approval process. Under this, there is a special provision called vote on account, where the government obtains permission from the parliament for a sufficient sum to carry on daily functions until the required legislation is passed. Now we move on to reappropriations. Reappropriation refers to the reallocation or the transfer of funds within a budget. This could occur when the funds originally allocated for one purpose are reassigned for another. Next, we come to outcome budget. Outcome budget is a way to monitor the allocated funds within a new budget. Since 2006 to 2007, it has been made mandatory for every ministry to present a preliminary outcome budget to the Ministry of Finance for compiling them together. The next word is guillotine. The Parliament has limited time for discussing the expenditure demands of each ministry. Now, if there is any pressing political matter, other things can be put on hold, and the Speaker of the House can apply the guillotine and move a proposal against a specific allocation for a government department. Let's move on to cut motions. A cut motion is a special power vested in members of the Lok Sabha to oppose a demand being discussed for specific allocation by the government in the finance bill as part of the demand for grants. If the motion is adopted, it amounts to a no confidence vote, and if the government fails to jot up the numbers in the lower house, it is obliged to resign according to the norms of the house. And treasury bills. When the central government approaches the financial market to raise money, it does so by issuing two types of debt instruments: treasury bills and government bonds. Treasury bills are issued whenever the government needs money for a short period. These treasury bills are issued only by central government. They have a maximum maturity period of 364 days. And a government bond is a debt instrument issued by the central and state governments of India. Issuance of such bonds occur when the issuing body, whether it is the central government or any state government, faces a liquidity crisis and requires funds for the purpose of infrastructure development.
With the interim budget just around the corner, in this special segment, we explain the lock-in procedure followed during the interim budget process. The sole purpose of this procedure is to keep financial facts private. Now, this distinctive feature is a specific technique designed to safeguard the confidentiality of the budget information. Now, during this period, dedicated personnel are confined to the budget press in the North Block to ensure that the budget remains anonymous until the Union Finance Minister publicly presents the budget to the Parliament. The lock-in period procedure was introduced after a piece of the budgetary information was leaked prematurely back in 1950. The controversy escalated to the extent that the then Finance Minister, John Mathai, had to resign due to a breach of confidentiality.
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla. This is Republic Niva Bupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bupa Studio, your one-stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla. This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking news updates, and I am Nikita Sahai.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studio, your one stop for all the breaking updates. I am Rakshita Mishra.
This is Republic Niva Bhupa Studios, your one-stop destination for all the breaking news updates, and I am Shivangi Shukla.
From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for the debate.
The debate at 9, presented by Amity University, powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Century Ply, Club Prime, PolicyBazaar.com.
Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sucharita Kukreti and you're watching the debate. Everything seems to be falling apart for the India Alliance. And it seems the exit of Nitish Kumar was just the beginning. The electoral debut for the alliance began with the mayor elections in Chandigarh, Aam Aadmi Party and Congress coming together and calling it the start to the fight for 2024 against the BJP. But it seems that all claims have fallen flat as BJP has gone on to win the mayor elections. And this electoral debut debacle is not the only woe for the India Alliance. The fight for perception continues as two chief ministers and one ex-deputy chief minister face the ED charges. And that's our debate number one. Our debate number one, is it all but over for India Alliance? India completely falls apart. After back-to-back flop shows, it's all over for the India Alliance. Even